Welcome to the library.
Is that what we do for every episode?
Hello. Welcome to the library.
Are you gonna do an intro?
You're listening to the Libraries Unlimited podcast. Welcome.
I'm gonna fade out.
Today. Oh.
There you go.
Okay. Lovely. Hello, Callum. How are you?
I'm very well, Lee. How are you? It's good to see you. I am seeing
Thank
you
you
today for this podcast rather than just hearing your voice.
Absolutely. And you're running the music underneath, which is quite professional. And then you've just cut it out there, which was so beautifully done.
I tried to do a seamless fade, but it went like that. I am sorry. It was supposed to be seamless.
Did you like the singing at the beginning? I don't know if that's going to get caught on the camera, but
I think it
Not
will
that
get
one.
caught. I think it
Yeah.
will get caught on the camera,
Yeah.
Lee, which is a shame for everyone watching. But
listen, that tune has been in my head for 9 weeks.
yeah,
With that singing, I'm sharing it, and everybody's going to have that earworm. I'm sorry, it's just the way it is.
Well, no worries. So, for everybody, welcome. This is episode 10 of the Libraries Unlimited podcast. But we ran out of space on our podcast hosting website, so we decided to make a video for you. This is episode 10. So this is what I look like, and that's what Lee looks like.
Yeah. So when we mentioned about the MasterChef reference, you can now see.
Yeah, cheers. Yeah, well, you're harking back there to episode 1, Lee. Yeah,
The buttery biscuit base.
the butter. Yeah. The thing about me is I like food and I like divorces. I've had 10 wives. That's what he says, isn't it? That's what he says.
I don't know.
That's what he says at the beginning of the video. At the beginning of MasterChef, the professionals at one time, he was like, 10 years,
Really?
3 wives and 1 presenter of MasterChef. He said that. I promise you. You can go back and watch it.
Oh, I'll have to go back and watch. I've never seen him say that ever.
Yeah,
I'll take your word for it.
Please do. Lee, what have you been
What's
up
going
to?
on?
Well, yeah.
Oh, all right. So this is how it normally works. We have this banter, and then it takes me like 10 hours editing out all the mistakes.
We're keeping it in today, though. We're keeping it in.
But what I would like to just quickly show you is this. So this software here is Audacity, very, very easy to use. And it captures sound from a little microphone that I've got plugged in. And you send me all of your program files and all the other program files of interviews and what have you, and then I put it together on that machine. So I thought I'd just show you, let you into the window, a little kind of into the world of editing.
Of editing? Cool.
Yeah,
Wow.
of editing. That's as much as you're going to get.
That's as
The
much
rest
as,
is
yeah.
tricks. Yeah, you
Well-
can pay for the rest if you want.
Well, if we're talking about if we're giving secrets away,
Yeah.
this is
Go
an
on.
old PS4 headset.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Ah,
best-
have you
best
got one of those
microphone I
like special driving seats that you can buy as well when you do the racing games?
I've got a sofa, which I sit on.
That'll do. That's
Yeah,
pretty close.
that'll do.
I've had, Callum, I need to give you your interview recorder back. I've had it for quite a while.
That's where it went. I left it at your
Yeah.
house.
Yeah, exactly. There we go.
God, before lockdown, I've been looking everywhere for it. These songs would come on the radio, and I'd be like, "Where's the thing? I want to press record," and I just couldn't.
I need to interview Alex, CEO of Libraries Unlimited.
Where is
Where's my
he?
recorder?
Where is he? I'll have to get Lee to do it. That's why I'm not in any of the interviews. Lee, should we get back on track? Let's get back on
Go on.
How are you?
I'm doing okay. It's been really busy in the library this week, actually, because we've had the doors open for Choose and Collect. It's been really interesting.
Have you got some news?
I haven't got exact news yet, but I believe by the time this podcast comes out, there may be some news that we are opening our doors. I would imagine in the next few weeks, I'm hoping, that our doors will be open, so people can wander in and actually pick a book up. But it will be quite strict. Yeah, it'd be strict. It'd be like a 1 in, 1 out for browsing.
Okay.
I would imagine a 1 in, 1 out for PC use, public PC use, a 1 in, 1 out for the photocopier and Choose and Collect. So if it does happen, well, it should happen actually, it's a matter of having 4 people in the building at any one time, members of the public, but all doing a different thing. So we're going to have to manage it from outside the library. So there'll be somebody there triaging the line, as it were, kind of working out what people want and then letting them in.
Cool.
That's my plan anyway. So let's hope it works.
That sounds good. I actually was in Honiton today. Which is one of the pilot libraries for Devon Libraries that opened. And I got to go and kind of do a shift there today, and that was really interesting. Like, it was great watching the library being used. Everybody was taking it very seriously and things, but.
Well, tell me more, because Honiton is, like you said, a pilot library that's open properly, with a certain amount of people in. So how is it actually? How did it feel? Did it work?
It felt okay. I was really grateful to see people coming in. So the computers were being heavily used, but they were on a book. You had to book.
Booking system.
And then we had lots of browsers and lots of kids with their parents that could finally get their hands on some books. The children's library itself was actually closed, but we were allowed to go in there and grab books for them, and it was great. It was just, it was kind of, obviously it wasn't the same as as what it would be like 6 months ago, but it was like a slice of normality. It was like, we're back in the library.
Once we get those doors open and people are allowed to come in exactly how it was, I promise you there'll be free cake. As much as I can possibly get in there, we'll be giving free cake away.
At St. Thomas.
At St. Thomas.
Do not expect free cake at Exeter Library.
Why not?
Because we are not doing it.
What do you mean you can't deal out 2,000 slices of cake a day? What's the problem?
It's not happening. Look, you can come and you can ask. Well, we've got the cafe, so you can pay for cake.
That's true.
So Lee, today it's the final episode of the podcast.
I know, it's been a run. It's been a very interesting journey, I would say, from the very first one, not really knowing where we're going to be in 10 weeks' time, and here we are. So yeah.
It's taken lots of forms. The first episode was, it wasn't, I wouldn't say it was rushed, but we just wanted to do it. We were just like, just get it done. Let's just get it done. I think we kind of found our stride from about episode kind of 3 onwards. I was thinking back at some of my kind of favorite times, and I really enjoyed listening to Jez talk about Naxos. I think that was like one of the highlights for me. I could just sit there and listen to him talk about his subject, because he clearly knows so much about this subject. I could just sit there and listen to him talk all day.
He's got one of those voices that you could probably go to sleep to as well. He'd have not being rude, but he's got a very soft, gentle voice, and he'd be great for sending you to sleep, like Stephen Fry on those. I think that's kind of
I know what you mean.
Things. And they send you to sleep at night.
It's a very subdued kind of. It's a confident but kind of subdued, kind of calm. He takes his time. He knows what he's doing.
He takes his time. He takes his time so much that interview was about 40 minutes long, and I had to knock it back down to whatever it was, 20 minutes. So there is actually a much longer version of his talking about Naxos, and it is really good. So we did promise at one point we'd put it out, so maybe we could stick it on to YouTube.
Maybe we will.
Yeah. With no cuts.
No cuts, yeah.
No cuts.
Yeah, explicit language kept in. All the no bleeps.
One strange word there, but that's fine.
Yeah.
It works.
But yeah.
Yeah, I really, really, really enjoyed that episode as well. Because really, more than anything, Jez is a very good friend of mine too. But I really quite enjoyed talking to the Essex people as well, because it was interesting to see how another library in another county was doing it and surviving as well through all kinds of bits and pieces, like all libraries are, and the kind of confidence they've got to put on a podcast and just go with it like we have. So
Well, I've been speaking with Beth, who was on the podcast a couple of times since, because I've been following Essex Libraries on Twitter ever since, and they've released some like really interesting stuff, and some really high quality kind of marketing and like public advice about how their libraries are opening. So I've been speaking to her a little bit about it and been like, this is really good. How did you do this? This is,
But I think this is it. I mean, stealing kind of ideas or borrowing ideas or talking about ideas and sharing information across the whole of all libraries in Britain, if possible, would be excellent, wouldn't it? I mean,
we're all friends.
Across. Exactly.
We're all friends. We're not like a big corporation. We're not like a big kind of, retail organisation that's in competition with each other. We want other libraries to.
That's right. We're not going to be designing 6G anytime soon, the library service. But it's not that kind of global
No.
Gestalt entity. It's
Not
just
yet.
we're all doing the same thing, but
Yeah.
we're just doing it slightly differently, echoing our communities, which I love to say quite a lot. But yeah.
So we've got one bit of official news
Go on
that we
then.
sent in, and we are
Have
going
you got the news item music?
Yeah, we're gonna. Oh,
okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, you're
Okay.
absolutely right, Lee, and I apologise.
That's
'cause
fine.
we
You need
said
to
that we were
introduce
gonna-
it properly.
Oh my, I am all over the place. So, and here we have the news. I've muted it. Oh God.
Go on,
Right,
then, go for it.
No, we
Bring,
cut no
bring,
because
bring,
it's
a-dink, bring,
no,
bring,
it's pre-recorded.
bring.
Like
Oh.
I'm going to
Oh,
cut
is
it there, and
Oh.
then it's going to go to Marcus. And
Hello there, I'm Marcus Brown, the digital making tutor at Fablab Devon in Exeter, and we have some exciting updates. Our birthday parties are back, and we have lots of design and deliver workshops available that you can access right now. Our birthday parties are back in a brand new format. They're for anyone 8 years plus. The birthday person, or the adult if it's a child, we set up a link for them, and they send that out to the people they're inviting to their party, which is between 4 and 6 people. The link includes details about the birthday party workshop and also a consent form for the online working part of things. The format of the birthday party is we offer a live video link with the birthday person and their guests. We will do a live design demonstration, and it's how to design a 3D keyring. We'll take everybody through the software and how to design their own bespoke keyring. Then we will even 3D print it for you, all the people that take part, and we'll post it out. So yeah, you design, we deliver. So yeah, really exciting. Do get in touch. We also are offering design and deliver workshops. We've currently got 4 workshops available to learn 2D or 3D design skills. You can design your own t-shirt, or you can design various 3D projects. You design them and then we'll post them out to you. Completely suitable for children and adults. And some workshops are directly linked to the Silly Squad Summer Reading Challenge, which is great. So there's an option to do some really silly designs. To find out more, search online for fablabdevon.org or directly email us. We've got an information leaflet about our birthday parties. So our email is fablab@librariesunlimited.org.uk. You'll find the email also on our website. And we also have an events page where you can sign up for the workshops at fablabdevon.eventbrite.co.uk. That's great. Do get in contact if you have any questions or if you'd like to book up. Thank you.
so
There we are. Fablab.
exactly, Fablab, and they're
Fablab.
very excited to be Fablab.
Fablab.
So Lee, let's get on to our topic. You may notice
Yes.
it's just the two of us this week, so we're going to have an open chat, open
Oh.
discussion, no interview, almost
Right.
like a perfect way to say goodbye.
And
we-
yes. Okay.
We're going to talk about the future of libraries.
Right.
What does the future bring? What does it hold? What do you see in the future? What's the ultimate fantasy of libraries? What's the realistic fantasy of libraries? What do we want? What don't we want? Keep it short, but those are the kind of things.
You've got 60 seconds.
Go. But those are the things, because this is something that gets sort of talked about in library circles a lot. Everybody seems to have their eyes on the future. There's always we should do this, or if only we did that, or if only this happened. And a lot of the time it's very positive stuff. It's like, high end kind of, theoretical ideas. And I just want to see what you think about it. And I want to tell you what I think as well. So from my kind of point of view, there are 2 definitions of libraries. And I think that you and I are perfect examples of what both of those 2 definitions are. Of when we say the word library, anyway. The first is a local community branch library. Small, relatively small, interacts with customers on a really, really personal level, and has that kind of like really, really strong split, So what is it? So when we say libraries, what is the future of that library? And then, of course, the other version of a library is a bigger library, a more of like a cultural space where you want to have the personal relationship with people, and you do with some, but there are, like you said earlier on, 2,000 people that walk through the door, and you just can't have it with everyone. So when we say library, we kind of mean those two things, so we might have to differentiate between the two when we talk about future, but those are the two that I've got in my head. So let's just get started, Lee.
Go on then.
In 100 years' time,
That's a long way ahead.
It's a long way ahead. What's going on at St. Thomas? What is the future of St. Thomas?
It'll all be digital implants, mate. There'll be no books, that's for sure. You're talking 100 years. This is Arthur C. Clarke land. Why don't we make it like a realistic, futuristic? Do you want, because that's science fiction, we could guess it. If you think about okay, let's be serious. If you think about the change of technology in the last 10 years, it's been massive. The last 20 years, ridiculous. The last 30 years, unrecognisable from 30 years ago. The world didn't have internet for a start. So, and when it became a public thing and everybody got their hands on it at the end of the 90s, mid-90s, it changed the world entirely and brought us completely close together. So, that information technology nearly wiped libraries off the board. It nearly did. But I think libraries have done an amazing job of adapting, and I think that's our strength. So when we go into the future, whatever the changes are, libraries can just take them on board. We know that we can do it. We have done with technology, we have done with social media, all that sort of stuff, and the lockdown has proved a lot that we can survive through a pandemic as well, online mostly. But it's not the end of the world. You can still operate as a library service, especially going out to people, delivering books, that sort of thing can be done, like we said. All of the signposting services we've done, all the kind of events, which we could have done a lot more events actually, but we just didn't have the time because we were so busy. Everything from health and well-being and anxiety and all that sort of thing, all the way to children's events. There are so many things we can do online. So if online changes, which it may do, it may become something else, we don't know, or the way that we live our lives and the way that you see our children actually being, their brains are changing, the way they think. They are our future, so they will think of libraries as being slightly different spaces. It's important now to make sure the spaces exist. We can exist in cyberspace, but I think it's really important that we exist as a space as well, because it's a physical element that somebody can go into and feel safe. It's a neutral space, and that should always be the case, always neutral. It should always be free. It should always be open to all the core values that we've got going, the learning and the inspiration and all that sort of thing. And that all those core things will always happen. They have been there from the year dot, but they're just, the more things happen in the world, the more we pull it in and stick it together. And if you imagine like the core of a planet and the library service growing outwards, becoming a bigger planet as you go, with all these added little bits, we adapt, we can change, but we can also bring in lots and lots of new ideas and use those ideas to our advantage to help the communities out there. So I think a branch library in the future is not going to be that much different space in the space-wise. It will just change with the times. I don't think libraries are going anywhere soon.
No, well, do you think that the way that the community, because like you said, with the children and the children in the future and that sort of thing, if you look at the figures of the kind of demographic that use libraries, you're either very, very young or you're kind of in the older generation. The kind of teenage and kind of early 20s, that if they use it, they're much more likely for like Wi-Fi use or something like that.
And studying, yeah.
And studying. Do you think that when the next generation gets to the age that the major demographic use now, it won't be in their kind of mentality to use the library, Which is why I say it's important now, absolutely now, to get them into the space, to understand that there's a space that can be used somehow. So, me and you went to libraries when we were younger. You ended up in the job because you wanted to go for the job, but I bet you when you went into the library and started working, I thought, oh wow, I remember loving this, going to the library. I'm the same, I found that a very
safe space to go in and read my books. Bit of a nerd sitting there reading a book, but I don't think anybody should feel like a nerd or guilty for reading, but that everybody should read. But that space I felt very safe in, and I think that's quite an important thing, to keep the space, or a space where you can at least read, even if the library split off into lots of different things. Say, I don't know, perhaps your library could have, your library service or your councils could afford two types of a library, or two types of service run by the same library service. So an IT centre where everybody just goes and does their IT stuff, and an archive or classic library centre where it's a hub and it's events and it's books. There is a possibility to split these things off. But I do think it's better kind of moving into buildings which you then share with. So, the post office ones work. You can move in and, like Alex once said, you might be able to have a gin distillery down the road, that sort of thing. It's just kind of ideas. You might want to cut that. Yeah. I'm not sure if that's actually public. But there are lots of different things that the libraries operate in the county, sort of thing. So
if you look at the kind of major the libraries that impress me the most around the country, the big one is the Story House in Chester. Do you know about the Story House?
I've heard of it and I've seen the pictures.
So that had a huge amount of money. I mean, we're talking huge amount of money. I think it was 32 million pumped into it to turn it into this kind of like uber multicultural hub, where it had the theatre, it had the cinema, it had the bar and the cafe, and then also had the library. It had the IT centres as well. But so and that for me that just sounds like heaven. That I want, especially the bigger libraries like Exeter, to turn into a cultural hub, that does more than an art centre, but it is kind of more towards that line than an old school kind of maybe academic library. But there are a lot of people who come into Exeter Library. They're not an overwhelming, but they're a loud minority, which is ironic considering what I'm about to say, who would prefer it to go back to a shush library, a quiet kind of place of contemplation, a sort of the idea of a children's event happening in the middle of the library is like, that's not what a library should do. Do you think there's any space for that sort of thing in the future, or do you think that that's going to die a death?
Well, I can see both sides, because I come from both sides of the coin, being the age I am. So I love a shush library, weirdly. I love the idea. I kind of like Pinho Library. Pinho Library is a very small library, quite traditional. It's got wooden walls. It looks like an old library. But at the same time, all the stuff we're doing in it is very modern. The way that we work is very modern. So it's, obviously we'd like to freshen it up and have a brand new library. That'd be fantastic, and a hub and everything. But I think what we mustn't forget, if we do ever change our libraries and make them big bustling hubs, is the point of the quiet time, of the point of people contemplating, like you say, quite a meditative experience, studying quiet spaces. Exeter has its own quiet space. I mean, I think it's successful. I've been up there a few times, and it feels.
I would say day by day, it's got the most sort of purposeful usage out of the whole library.
Yes, and everybody is really quiet.
Yeah,
very respectful.
And it's weird because it's got like that kind of balcony that looks over the main library, so it's not a silent area. It's just a very I would say that is that's very important.
Yeah, but it's important to mix the two. Like, I think Exeter's getting the balance interestingly right, because you can have children's events going on, and if people do want quiet time to read the books that they're picking up, you kind of have to go, okay, there's an event going on, and then if it's a regular event, you know what time it is, you can avoid it and all that sort of thing. It's not the end of the world to have an event while the library is open, but as long as you have got an area to disappear to with your book. It's quite tricky with the branch library. Say, for instance, we have Bounce and Rhyme on Thursdays. I think our customers know when it is. So if they want to come in and they don't mind the children singing along, singing in the corner, fine. If they come in and they don't like it, we tell them, and then they'll come back 20 minutes later when it's over. Yeah. It's not. We're small enough to do that, to ask people to come back in and things. A lot of the time, I have to say most of the time, possibly all the time actually, I don't really think I've had... Oh no, I've probably had one or two people not feel happy about it, but that's over a long time. That's 5-6 years in that branch. not really had many complaints. So people actually quite like what's going on in the library. It feels vibrant.
So in this sort of current world, I would say that everything has to justify itself. In terms of, say, I'm talking about money, basically. So everything has to be kind of quantifiable. If you look at the NHS or if you look at therapy services, you need success stories, but you need to be able to show them in figures. We cured, X amount.
And testimonials.
Yeah.
No. The more people say how much they love libraries and can tell us a good story.
Yes.
Good news stories.
But I think while I would want it to be more a case of merit rather than sort of tick box, I don't think you can argue that that's not how it's viewed now. Like, not to slightly go on.
I think the two can go together a little bit, but yeah, go on.
But it's the amount of funding that's gone into the library service has obviously been decreasing, and it's no secret that the usage of libraries has been slowly decreasing over the years as well. And it's become more and more important nowadays for libraries to be able to justify why they are so important. Now, you know why they're so important, and I know why they're so important. But how are we doing a good enough job of convincing everybody that it is, when there's Libraries Unlimited exist for a reason? It was because the library service in Devon was in crisis because the money wasn't coming in, and so a group of people decided to create a charity so that they could have access, so that they could win the contract and have access to that money, but also have access to more money and keep more libraries open and keep it going. So there's a reason why they exist. It's because there is a perception that maybe we're not as essential as you and I might want us to.
Well, it's a public perception over the years. When you say the word library, let's face it, we all go out to the festivals, we all go out to the county show, things like that, to try and promote ourselves. It's very, very difficult to sell, because people will still have that very old-fashioned feeling that, I don't read a book or whatever, it's not relevant to me. And one of the things I did at the county show was to make sure that everybody that passed me, right, every single person that went past me and gave me half an eye, I'd go, library service, and they'd say, not really for me. I would say, well, what kind of things do you read, or what is it you do in life, or are you studying, whatever. I would find something relevant to that person, no matter what they said as they walked past. I think one of the best ones were two kids studying they were on a business course, actually, and I said, are you aware of the IP centre, the business centre in Exeter Library? And they went, no. And I said, well, there's great business. And I said, you can also use the Fablab and 3D printing. And they were like, their jaws dropped. They didn't even know that existed in Exeter. And I think we are a secret. It's kind of like a secret gem of an organisation that people just think. A lot of people still do think that we are 100 years ago, 50 years ago. That black and white business.
Yeah, place to get the books. Just a place to get the books.
Yeah, and that's not the case. I mean, the books are a massive strand and a massive bloodline, and very, very important for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
But we are so much more than that, and that's what we've been struggling with, Callum, isn't it, for years and years, of trying to change the public's perception. That can be done only through not just word of mouth, but also through marketing. So strong marketing, talking to Spotlight and all the BBC local channels, that sort of thing, other radio stations, Phonic FM, Radio X, all of the radio stations should get involved with what libraries are getting up to, because we are very multicultural. We're very diverse in a lot of things we do, events wise and services wise. We are relevant to every single person, I would say, in some small way. Even if it's they come in and they need to know where something is, or they need to get a bus pass and we can tell them about it, we have an answer somewhere. You can test us. I think we should have on the front of all our libraries, test us with a question. Ask us anything. Ask us anything. We'll have an answer for you somehow.
So I got a question about kind of post-lockdown world. So it is future, but it's more of an immediate future. There's a lot of talk in the news about the effect that the lockdown's having on the arts industry. do you think that there's a space for libraries to kind of help with that and make sure that culture, I was going to say culture continues, but that sounds strange, but like
100%. I totally, absolutely. I mean, and I know that we run events at our libraries, and they are quality events. You can have scratch events. You can have people coming in just cutting their teeth on doing things. This is the thing about a library, is that we can allow all levels of art in through our doors, okay, depending on what it is. So something like Evolve is a different matter. They've got money to bring in quality events of people that have done years and years of performance or years and years of art, and they've got honed quality art. You can bring that in. You can have anybody from all levels of class or societal, kind of levels to enjoy that art. It's a bit like Shakespeare inviting people in at the pits and people in at the top. No matter what their money or their standing, they can all come and see theatre. They can all enjoy it, and that is what libraries are very much like at the moment.
We
are putting on
agree, top of because the kind of, I'd say this is an Exeter thing here, and it might just be a personal, but the word theatre sort of has this sort of dinner and a show, darling, kind of connotation. It's very kind of white, upper middle class.
I quite like doing that, actually.
Well, each to their own, girl. But
I'm an actor, you know that.
But you're right. But you're right. The kind of art needs to be, or culture needs to be like as accessible as a free book in a library. And I think that
yes, exactly.
I do think that, and I think we're getting. I don't think that we as a library service are there yet. We are getting there. We are pointing in the right direction. We've got our eye on it.
Yeah,
we will only get better.
Yeah. We will only get better, and actually having partners come in and be involved with us. For instance, I don't know about the rest of the county, but just off the top of my head, Theatre Alibi, for instance, have done lots of great community work, and they've turned it into theatre and bring it in. We had Rob Pudner. We've got the really wild guy. We've got the really wild learning bloke that comes in. That's Kim Insol, but he's also doing a bit of performance with it. There's storytellers. There's all these sort of things. We've got lots and lots of great connections with lots of partners that they can bring their skills, or actually even the Exeter Literary Festival, for instance. The key kind of keywords, festivals and things like that. They all can partner with the libraries, and they can bring their expertise in, and we can learn from it, that expertise of festival running, of theatre running, and apply it. And we have done that.
Because I think that's where we're a little bit behind, because we all know what we want, and we're kind of learning. So if you look at places like Phoenix or Northcote or the Barbican in Plymouth, they know what they're doing. They've had years. They've got whereas we're kind of, we've got our eye on it, and we're working really, really hard to get there. And like you said, the stuff that comes into the library is just sometimes it's so good. Like, it's so good. Do you think that's a good place to end this, I guess, optimistic chat?
Yeah. Well, I say chat. You say chat, but actually it was interview Lee, wasn't it? That was very crafty.
Yeah. Well,
I've done all the big interviews, you see, and you turned it around on me. That's very clever.
I find this topic difficult because...
Do you?
Yeah, I do, because we know what we want. We want a library everywhere there can't be a library, a mobile library. Every library to have the most modern tech, to have the most, just for ease, not if anything else. We want them to have brilliant books that people can have, amazing events, and we just want it to be everything that we know libraries can be. But I think the reason why I find this topic difficult is because we want that. We try our hardest to kind of get that to happen. Sometimes the hands are sort of tied a little bit. I don't think it was, for instance, Bristol Library's preference to shut libraries. But, what do you do? Libraries Unlimited, like I said before, exist because of there was crisis. And now we exist. What happens when there's another crisis? I mean, we're in the middle of a crisis. So I find it kind of like, I want to be really optimistic. I want to fantasize about, sort of teleporting machines in which you want a book and it just appears, and that we give out chips that you rent a chip for your brain, and the coding clubs. We've got robots kicking around. I want to fantasize about all of this, but there's just a part of me that goes.
Right. I'm going to stop you now because I think that most of what you said is already happening in Devon Libraries already. It's already happening. We're without bigging ourselves up, because that's not the thing that we should do. But at the same time, it's good to blow your horn when you think something's a success. It's good to blow your horn when you think something's a success. God, you try saying that. That's really hard. There are two other library services very similar to us out there, and they're also successful, I believe. I think what we're doing is incredible, and it's not easy. It's really difficult, but we are slowly changing the face of what it means to be a public library.
Yes.
By being what we are. And we found it very, very difficult, to ask for money from the public, because so many things have been free, but the public have been very supportive, and, the events themselves kind of can pay for themselves and things like that. That's what we want to do. We want to have this recyclable kind of diverse body of information going in and out of the library in whatever form, feeding the brain, feeding the imagination, inspiring people. And we can do that now. We have been doing it, and let's just say that all the libraries in Devon are still existing. None of them were closed during that very nasty period. Compared to the rest of the nation, we've been very, very lucky.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was a very canny move from our last CEO, Kira, and our great counsellors, Roger Crode and some others. They all pulled together and they saw how relevant libraries were, how important libraries were. Let's have a go. Let's give it a go. And we can also save money at the same time. Ideally it'd be great to be part of the council and just like running along like we've always been running along. But actually this has really kick-started our library service into something quite different and quite new. And it's very scary, but it's been a success, I feel. We're at a certain point where we're learning more, we're doing a lot more. And Callum, you're quite new, so you wouldn't really know what it was like beforehand. But this is a golden period, I feel, for libraries and Devon libraries. Probably one of the best periods in my 25-30 years of being here. It's looking strong, it's looking great. But we do always need the support of the public and people who want to use the libraries. So, use us, basically. Please use us.
We are, just in case you start begging, we are going to stop there. I tried to stop 5 minutes ago, but there's just so much to talk about.
That's all right. Well, you can edit some bits.
I'll leave it all in. Lee, this is. Are you ready? This is the end of episode 10. This is the Vlodcast. Hang on, just while we're all here, talk amongst yourselves.
What, me? Talk amongst myself? Hey Lee, how you doing? Yeah, I'm fine actually, thank you very much. What's Callum doing? Well, he's just lining up the last music, is he? Really? Oh, that's really good, yeah. Do we sing at the end? I don't know, we could sing.
No, we don't. Lee!
Welcome to the library. Goodbye from the library.
Lee, exit us out. Where can people find us?
People can find us online at devonlibraries.org.uk or torbaylibraries.org.uk.
And librariesunlimited.org.uk.
And Libraries Unlimited, yeah, of course, yeah. This has been the Libraries Unlimited podcast. Thank you very much for watching and listening. And Callum, it's been fun.
It has, and good luck with all of your library shenanigans.
And you too. I'll see you on another podcast in the future, I'm sure.
Maybe. Who knows?
Bye.
Bye. Just gonna fade the music up.
Are you fading?
And then I'm gonna fade it out. I'm gonna fade it back.
I'll do like a Star Wars fade.
Like a. Oh.